Guys, Yair Rodriguez has officially lost his mind. Guys, I don't want to have to say that Yair's lost his fucking mind, okay? I don't want to have to be that person to call it out and put it out there. Most of you have probably already seen some of the things that Yair has kind of done and said after his good performance against Patricio. For those of you who haven't seen it, today's video I will be going through everything that Yair Rodriguez is currently saying in response to Diego Lopes, and I will be explaining why I feel the fight between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez is the fight to make for the featherweight division. It not only puts Diego Lopes right back in title contention should he get a win over Yair, it also would put Yair right in that spot too. Before I dive into all my reasonings though, I'm going to just read to you guys the recent updates between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez via, I think, Instagram. Okay, so I am fearful of getting hit with some sort of, copyright as other channels might be. So what I'm going to do here is just quickly read to you guys this back and forth exchange. And while I'm reading through these, I'm going to add some of my own commentary just so you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from in my POV, and also open up the floor for you guys to comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this. How does this make you feel as a fan of the UFC? So, starting off with Diego Lopes. Hey, Yair Rodriguez. I just learned that you got a call from Hunter Campbell, and you turned down to fight me at Noche UFC. Where's the man that was in front of me at the press conference? That's a pretty cold writing there from Diego Lopes, just calling his ass straight out, just making sure he knows what time it is. So yeah, Yair Rodriguez. Guys, maybe I should try to read in like how Yair would read. If you ever heard Yair talk, the guy speaks in, not only in Spanish, but in English, like fast forward. This is sort of stuff. I love it for things to be different. It's becoming like circus, to be honest. The pussy Diego Lopes saying, sorry guys. That I don't want to fight him. I don't want to fight against him. That's not the case. I'm a little disappointed with UFC, with the fact that they offered me a fight, because they offered to fight him. Let's take a step back first. All right, I'm going to be real now. What happened? When I had the chance to fight Diego, he said no, because I was coming off of a loss. But now that he's coming off of a loss, he wants to fight me. I don't think he's very consistent with what he says. I obviously don't have any problem fighting him. If you ask me, I'd rather fight him in the damn street, because fighting against him in the UFC doesn't do much for me. So I'm going to stop right there. I 1,000% disagree with this line of thinking from Yair. For Yair to say a fight against Diego Lopes does nothing for him makes zero sense to me. Diego Lopes just fought for the vacated belt against the legend Alexander Volkanovski. So I don't really know how this all works, but my understanding is that because Ilya left the division, obviously, the belt is vacated. So then you've got Volk versus Diego. My understanding of the rankings, now not always, but my understanding of the rankings in this specific scenario, Volk versus Diego, it's Volk, obviously not the champ, but I believe in rankings, either he or Diego were like neck and neck at the very top of the division, okay? So it's like number 1 versus number 2. I don't know specifically what it was, but my line of thinking here is that Diego Lopes is absolutely up there in the top of the featherweight division. And actually, while we're just doing this, let's just take a quick look. UFC featherweight rankings. Okay. So, guys, this is the fucking issue I have with the UFC. I'm going to make a quick sidebar. Here we go. The featherweight champion, obviously, now is Alexander Volkanovski. Diego Lopes technically is number 1. He's actually number 2, but Max Holloway is still number 1 at featherweight. And then Ilya Topuria is number 3. Make that fucking make sense. Make that make sense, guys. I can't even, why... the UFC is such a successful company. I believe that they have in-house developers and probably in-house creatives who do and update all of their shit. Why is it, it's been 2 months since Alexander Volkanovski grabbed that belt. why are two guys who literally have lightweight matchups set in stone? You've got two headliners, right? Max Holloway's headlining against Dustin Poirier. Why in the hell is he still ranked at featherweight? And then Ilia Topuria is literally fighting on June 28th, headlining International Fight Week. Why is he ranked at featherweight? And then let's just dive into the next one that really is annoying. Movsar is tied with Yair at number 4. So you can't even give Movsar his own position, which should be higher than Yair. And you could give Movsar the number 3 spot that is currently being taken up by a guy who left the fucking division. And this is no disrespect to Max or Ilya. They're just not in the division anymore. Why are they still ranked? Regardless, my whole point in this is that Yair Rodriguez says, this fight does nothing for me. Technically, you're wrong, Yair. It does a lot for you because right now there isn't a clear number 1 contender for the belt other than Movsar, in my opinion. So the fact that you are below in that regard, right? Like if the UFC is actually going to give that shot to Movsar, no one even knows what's going to happen because right now Noche is no longer a pay-per-view event. Like we really don't know what's going to happen. And it seems as though the UFC's listening to fans because they did offer Yair this fight against Diego. So that tells me they're listening to the fan base and all of us being pissed about a potential matchup where Yair just gets shimmied into a title shot when he didn't earn it. Regardless, going back to my point here, Yair, technically speaking, this fight does a lot for you because if you're able to not only have a main event situation with Diego Lopes, that just continues to put your name in the limelight, giving you that promotion for your brand and your name. It gives you a chance to solidify your position in the division, and a win over a dominant Diego Lopes who literally kind of every person he fought except for Movsar and Volk he completely dominated. And even when he fought Movsar and Volk, he hurt both of them. Definitely hurt Volk more than you did when you fought Volk. So to say that this does nothing for you is just wrong. No matter what way you cut it. Explain to me how in any way, shape, or form this would do nothing for you. I feel like it would give you, like you have to think about all of the drama and the marketing that went behind Yair and Diego getting in their situation, right? Like that was huge for everybody. So from a fan base perspective, all the fans that are, diehard fans are asking for this fight. No one is out there saying Yair deserves a title shot. So Yair, go out there and earn it against Diego. Anyways, we'll finish what Yair has to say here. I'm not going to get paid more. It does absolutely nothing. It won't put me in a better position either because he's coming off of a loss. I'm also still injured from the last fight. So before anything, I first have to see where I'm at with that. I went to see a doctor, he recommended surgery. Obviously, I'm avoiding that at all costs. But let's see where the situation takes me. I just wanted to come here, clarify the situation. I've not turned on the fight. I'd be more than happy to fight against this damn shithead and his entire team, who can all suck it. So just that. And when you guys understand my position, I'm already getting attacked. And what else can you expect? People always come and attack when you're down and hurt, but that's it. Let me see what happens with my health if I can avoid the surgery. You know what? All of that is fair, Yair. I feel like you could have just said that. You could have just said, guys, I'm injured, don't know where my health's going to be at around the time of this fight booking. You throwing in those couple sentences of it does nothing for you and it doesn't push you forward and acting like Diego isn't probably one of the biggest names in the featherweight division, and not only the featherweight division, but one of the biggest names in the UFC currently. I mean, and just to give you perspective, like people that I know who don't know shit about MMA, or women mainly, who like don't really watch MMA, and I'm not trying to attack women, I'm just saying women that I know of Diego Lopes. And they probably know Yair Rodriguez like loosely, but a lot of people right now from a namesake perspective who are not diehard fans know Diego more than they know Yair. And that's just the facts. Like, and this is me saying, not taking someone like myself or probably any one of you that are watching this video who are hardcore fans. Like, we clearly all know who Yair is. And Yair has definitely proven himself, done great things in the octagon, given us so many bangers. But like, to sit here and act like Diego doesn't have the heavier name in this regard is just delusional, in my opinion. So to end this off, I'm going to read Diego's final response to Yair. Let's look at the facts. After the fight against Volk, UFC contacted me asking how my health was. I gave them all the recommendations the doctors gave me, which was that I would be ready for September. They offered me Aaron Pico. I said yes. 2 days later, I was offered Gene Silva. I said yes. When UFC changed Noche UFC to San Antonio, the UFC offered Yair Rodriguez. I said yes. I also offered to fight Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy. If you have any doubts, ask Dana White, Hunter Campbell, or Sean Shelby if I've ever turned down a fight. The day I turn down a fight would be because I have a serious health problem and it's impossible for me to fight. My career was built accepting fights. There's a reason why I have 33 professional fights. I feel like this was a nail in the coffin response. Diego's just basically saying, dude, here's the names and the receipts. Go ask if you think that I have turned down any type of fight. He provided specific details about each of the times he was offered fights. I feel like I really honestly believe Diego's position on this. But I also believe that Yair, it doesn't sound like he outright just shut down the fight with Diego because it's Diego. Although, if you read between the lines, it almost seems that way because he did say how he was upset about being offered that fight. The one thing that I find hilarious, though, is, and I didn't read this part of Yair's response, there's a whole other aspect to it because he did a video response. He made comments about how Diego's running from Gene Silva, and Gene Silva wants that fight. So let's just go back into my debate, taking a look at rankings. Hypothetically speaking, you have Gene Silva number 11. It makes more sense for Gene Silva to fight you, Yair, being number 4, than it would make sense for Diego at number 2 to be giving that shot. I mean, we've seen it happen before. Joshua Van, most notably, is actually going to be fighting now on short notice against Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval is number 1, and I believe Joshua Van is number 14. So we've seen this type of thing before. Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan. We've seen that before, where a guy in the very tail end of the top 15 gets a shot against a guy in the number 1 spot. But realistically speaking, if we are able to pick and choose these matchups, it would make way more sense for Gene Silva to go out there and fight someone, being that he's number 11, maybe fighting up, to a Lerone Murphy, number 8, number 11, to kind of see who should get the next crack in the top 5, right? And if you want to be overzealous, because Gene Silva's a fan favorite, he sells pay-per-views, all that, which I agree with, Gene Silva, go against a guy in the top 5, which would be Yair Rodriguez. And Yair Rodriguez, in my opinion, should be on that pecking order before Diego Lopes, because Diego Lopes number 2, basically number 1. And I actually don't even think Diego can be number 1, because technically speaking, whenever the UFC decides to fucking update their shit, Diego would be number 2 still, and you would promote whoever's getting the next title shot, which says to me the reason Movsar Evloev and Yair are number 4 is because one of them is going to get bumped up to number 1 when it's time for that title shot to happen. And God, please make it be Movsar, because we need a fresh matchup. I also like that matchup for Volk. I feel like there's no reason with Volk's legacy for him to do a rematch with Yair when the fight was not even close. Like, there were really no successful moments that I remember from Yair in that fight. Not saying that Yair shouldn't get a crack at the title at some point. I just feel like he needs one more win. Like, one more win against a guy in the top of the division, which, to me, the only route you should go there is Yair versus Diego Lopes. But let's just hypothetically say Yair goes up against Gene Silva. I still believe a win over Gene Silva in that fight should give Yair a shot at the title. Sure, why not? I mean, when we look at the other guys in the division, you do have Lerone Murphy, who did have a win over Josh Emmett. I just feel like the very top of the featherweight division right now is just kind of log-jammed, and it's like no one is necessarily a clear number 1 contender and outside of Movsar. So it's like you got to have a couple of these guys fight each other to stake their claim into that next title shot. But right now, I just had to make a video because it's like, I love Yair. I love Yair's fighting style. I'm starting to dislike the way that he approaches some of these takes that he has. Like, some of these takes he has are pretty delusional, in my opinion. And I do think that he needs to get another fight before he gets a title shot. He did not do enough against Patricio for me to say, as a fan, you are 100% deserving of a title shot. And what I love about Diego Lopes, Diego is not this guy who's like, well, I'm going to sit and wait. And like, Diego's out here trying to get a fight. Knowing he lost the title, knowing he's got to get back out there, he's trying to sign a fight and get back out there and stake his claim for reaching that title shot again. So it's like, why can't Yair have that same mindset? This is where I feel like these two need to fight. It would be fireworks. It's a great stylistic matchup for both sides because you have Yair with his dynamic kickboxing, taekwondo, his ability to throw kicks from fucking anywhere. Like, one of the most beautiful strikers in UFC history, if we're just being honest. I mean, the way that Yair is able to set up some of his head kicks, which he really hasn't gotten a lot of finishes from as of recent, but it's still he has some of the best highlights in the UFC, especially in the featherweight division. And then let's take a look at Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is another guy who is just straight fireworks. When he goes out there, he wants to knock everybody out. The guy's got the emo swoop haircut. He probably listens to Papa Roach while he's walking out. He should anyways. So let's get these two to fight each other. Let's see this matchup. Let's see how it goes. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Like, what do you think about Yair's response? What do you think about Yair versus Diego? Who do you have in a fight? Who do you have in that fight, or that potential matchup between Yair Rodriguez and Diego Lopes? Make sure you comment below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed this content, and please subscribe to Fight Feed so I can continue to grow my channel and also grow my discourse between you guys so we can have great discussions about MMA. I'm a huge fan of MMA, especially the UFC, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of your guys' comments. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next